Good afternoon and welcome to our May 26th regular meeting of City Council. The City of Belleville acknowledges we are meeting today on the traditional territory of many nations. We recognize and honor the historic relationship of the Indigenous peoples to this land and acknowledge our shared obligation to respect, honor, and sustain these lands and the natural resources contained within them. We recognize all First Nations, Métis, and Inuit who call Belleville their home and support the need of cultivating a strong relationship with them. We look forward to fostering a path toward reconciliation and show respect for the Indigenous peoples who first lived and currently live on the land where we now all reside together. Please remain standing for a moment of reflection.
May we be worthy custodians of all that has been entrusted to us. Help us to be concerned only for what will promote good government. May we bring to our council chambers minds that think and hearts that feel, always having respect for others, so that we may serve the people of our city in a helpful manner and for the good of all.
Please be seated. Disclosure of pecuniary interest and general nature thereof. Public meetings, approval of minutes. I need a motion to approve the council meeting minutes of May 12th. Be approved. Moved by Councillor Kelly, seconded by Councillor Enright Miller. Discussion, all in favor? Carried. Deputations, we have none tonight. Correspondence dated the 15th, 25th from Dockfest District of Belleville, summer event street closure. I'll move this as read, if somebody would. Moved by Councillor Thompson, seconded by Councillor Enright Miller. Discussion, all in favor? Carried. Second resolution to this, we have to add the Blues Festival to this for prohibiting refreshment vehicles. If I could get this moved as read. Councillor Thompson, seconded by Councillor Enright Miller. Discussion, all in favor? Carried. Correspondence from Jordan Shortt. Resolution, the request from Jordan Shortt, HBS Property Maintenance located at 552 Ashley Street, Foxborough, requesting the closure of Ashley Street from Mudcat Road on July 1st, 25th, 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. to allow for community fireworks display to be approved. Moved by Councillor Brown, seconded by Councillor Carr. Discussion, all in favor? Carried. Need a resolution to move into committee of the whole at 4:04 with Councillor Enright Miller in the chair. Moved by Councillor Carr, seconded by Councillor Sue. All in favor? Carried. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. We'll start at 8A, reports. The agenda shall include, under reports, items that warrant individual attention from council. 8A1, option to fill vacant Ward 1 council seat for the balance of the 2022 to 2026 term of council. And the resolution reads that pursuant to the city clerk's report number CC 2025-8, options to fill vacant Ward 1 council seat for the balance of the 2022 to 2026 term of council, that council directs staff to proceed with option 2A, being appoint the second highest placed Ward 1 councillor candidate who did not win in the 2022 municipal and school board election to fill the vacant seat. Can I have a mover? Mirella,
I move that option 2A and that person would be Kelly Power.
Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Thompson. Any discussion? All in favor? Carried. Thank you very much. 8A2, Asset Management Plan, Proposed Level of Service, Public Engagement Survey Results. Resolution reads that pursuant to the Manager of Finance's report number DDF 2025-4, Asset Management Plan, Proposed Level of Service, Public Engagement Survey Results, Council approved the proposed level of service for inclusion in the city's 2025 Asset Plan Management. Can I have a motion? Mayor Ellis, seconder. Councillor Carr, any discussion? Councillor Carr.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm just wondering if I could ask staff, I noticed we only had 91 responses. How does that compare to surveys that we put out for our annual budgets?
Director Ferguson.
Through the chair to Councillor Carr. Unfortunately, those are not very high results compared to surveys that we usually put out for budget. We'd be, 700 respondents would be an expectation. We have put out the 2026 budget survey is currently out, and we are seeing higher survey results for that particular type of survey, so they may be more attracted to budgetary issues and less for asset management plan. We'll continue to communicate and look for other methods as well to engage on asset management.
Okay, thank you. A couple more questions, Madam Chair. I see that roads emerged as a top priority, and that's consistent with our annual budget process as well. Through you to staff, when is the updated roads needs study anticipated to be completed, and has there been consideration given to actually post the needs study on the city's website so residents kind of have an idea of where their street or the infrastructure in front of their home sits in a ranking?
Manager.
Yep.
Hi, Joe.
Through the chair to Councillor Carr, we were actually talking to the contractor or the engineering firm that's undertaken that study. They said it should be with us in the next couple weeks, and then if it's a desire of council, we can put that on our website.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. And then the last question I had relates to the chart at the end of page 2, start of page 3. Does the report suggest that there's an annual decrease of almost $6 million in taxation expenditures in relation to the plan level of service? Am I reading that correctly?
Director Ferguson?
Through the chair to Councillor Carr, yes, the average annual needs are reduced. I would caveat a little bit. We will use these results from the proposed levels of service in that annual reduction into our 10-year capital planning. However, I would note that doesn't necessarily translate into a reduction. We will bring forth a tax levy requirement that will likely still be in the similar realm of the previous asset management plan when we bring together the financial strategy that will be in the asset management plan.
Okay, thank you. So that's it for questions, Madam Chair. Just going back to the response from staff on the roads needs study. Sounds as though council needs to provide direction as to whether or not we can have that posted. I don't know if you want to, how we could make that happen through a separate motion. I'm looking for some direction, maybe through you to the city clerk. I just think that given the fact that it's a consistently high-ranking concern of residents, getting an idea, because conceivably we can't do every road all at once. I think that bill would blow everybody away. And we do have an asset management plan, and we do, with the roads needs study, have through the 10-year capital plan a strategy. Articulating that strategy out to residents to know that your road hasn't been forgotten, that it's all been assessed and ranked accordingly. And I know in speaking with residents, I also explained that we don't always just look at the surface on top. We're also considering the underground infrastructure and whether or not we're going to tie in those capital expenditures together. We're not going to tear up a good road for underground services and vice versa. So giving them more of an idea as to our strategy, our game plan. So looking for some direction as to how we can provide that direction as council.
Thank you, Councillor Carr. I'd ask City Clerk, Mr. Irwin. Manager Reid?
Yeah, through the chair to Councillor Carr. I think it's it's good information to have on the public website. We can include that. We do have that as a part of the transportation master plan and is included, and it'll go alongside the asset management planning. Director Ferguson, do you have anything else you want to add?
Through the chair, Councillor Carr, I think the posting of the roads needs study, and then we would just caveat that as well in our 10-year capital planning exercises. We've been providing some mapping, so we are looking to, with the update for the roads needs study, identify those roads through mapping as well on our asset management plan website, so that residents would be able to easily access when their road would be resurfaced.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Councillor Thompson?
Yeah, on the roads needs assessment, Councillor Carr asked basically what I wanted to, but are we looking back on the last report on the roads needs assessment with any comparison at all? Because we did one not many years ago, right?
Manager Reid?
Through the chair to Councillor Carter, we've been updating the roads need study every 3 years. That's best practice on updating the roads assessment. And again, the roads need study is strictly looking at the pavement condition index. I will say that over the last number of years, our roads have been improving, like the overall average PCI, through the strategies that we've been putting in place for resurfacing and so forth.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Councillor Brown?
Fooled you. Through you to staff, Director Ferguson, I believe. In the survey itself, under question 3, do you feel that the proposed levels of service and associated asset condition and risk profiles sufficiently address the needs of the city's service areas? And the highest number of responses was unsure. Should we interpret that as that people really don't understand what the asset management plan and proposed levels of service are actually articulating?
Director Ferguson?
Through the chair to Councillor Brown, I think that's not an unfair interpretation, that we need to continue our public education piece to provide more background on the public proposed levels of service. And I think as well, we've identified on our performance dashboard some of our departmental plan metrics where we would see these ones as well once they get into place. And it may be a little bit easier to provide the education and the results at the same time so people can see what the investments pay back in terms of the results and the level of services that have been set.
And if I may, a second question related to question number 6. And this is an observation. So during the community service user study, there was analysis that was conducted that identified those user fees that were largely beneficial individually versus what's beneficial overall to the community. And in question 6, if we look at where people said the areas that are prioritized for reductions in capital reinvestment, they largely fall in that community category. So similarly, is there an opportunity from education in terms of can we actually take that work that was conducted as part of community services and that matrix about how it's assessed, could the same view be taken and used as an educational tool when it comes to things within the asset management plan? And it is a question, so.
Thanks, Director Ferguson.
Through the chair to Councillor Brown, I think there's an excellent opportunity to identify that information as well for the user fee and the cost recovery so that there is a parallel or understanding of how those investments are being paid for, which may help inform that prioritization. It's absolutely something that we could include in the education material.
And again, it's just an observation that when you look at what areas received the highest ranking in terms of divest and put less investment in, they were all elements of city facilities, harbors, library, cultural museum. They all tended to fall in that community category if you use that context, where it might be beneficial to the entire community, whereas the things that tended to get lower rankings in terms of divesting, so not that they're less important, but rather areas that they didn't want to see us reduce investment in, all seem to be about me. So if it directly impacted me, my water bill, my wastewater bill, my stormwater management, traffic operations, transit, things that directly related to an individual were very low, whereas things that were beneficial to the community as a whole were very high in terms of divest. So something for us to consider while we're looking at investments that we're making on our asset management plan. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Brown. Any other discussion? All in favor of the resolution? Carried. Thank you. 8A3, Municipal Housing Infrastructure Program, Housing Enabling Core Servicing Stream Agreement The resolution reads that a bylaw to approve and authorize a transfer payment agreement dated May 26, 2025, between His Majesty the King in right of the Province of Ontario, represented by the Minister of Infrastructure for the Province of Ontario, the Ministry, and the City of Belleville, the municipality, related to funding provided under the Municipal Housing Infrastructure Program, Housing Enabling Core Servicing Stream, as referenced in the Manager of Finance Report number DDF 2025-05, be prepared for Council's consideration, and that the 2025 capital budget be amended to reduce the utilization of the Asset Management Reserve Fund by $1,250,000 and increase grant funding by $1,250,000 for capital project number 23-1.008, redevelopment of the old fairground site. Can I have a motion? Marella, seconder. Councillor Kelly. Discussion. No discussion? Motion. Can I call for the motion? Carried. Thank you. 8A4, Hazardous Waste Program Service Depot Operations and Mobile Events. The resolution reads that pursuant to the Director of Transportation and Operations Service Report, number DTOS 2025-07, that 2026 pre-budget approval be provided for the operation of a hazardous waste depot in the amount of $985,200, to be funded by taxation in the amount of $685,200, and through a service agreement with partnering municipalities in the amount of $300,000. Thank you. A seconder? Councillor Thompson, any discussion? All in favor? Carried. Oh, Councillor Kelly?
Thank you, through you, Chair. Thanks for the report, Mr. Reid. Just a question. We know that Quinte Waste Solutions and their service contract in the report December 31st of this year. The level of service with the change, with the new contractor, what can we expect?
Through the chair to Councillor Kelly. We're not expecting any changes in the level of service, so the same contents and materials that can be disposed of at the depot currently for our residents will be continued to be received. The tender and the RFP that was developed was keeping in mind of the level of service that we currently provided to our residents, and not only our residents, the neighboring municipalities that are part of it. So there should be no changes to hours of service or materials that could be accepted.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Councillor Thompson.
Yeah, I happen to sit on the Waste Management Committee, and I want to commend Councillor Director Reid and Quinte West Director for bringing this together, because it was one aspect that was going to be out there when we dissolved the Quinte Waste. So this here was brought forward. So to Director Reid, so the funds that are being charged to the different municipalities is set for a year, or is it adjust every year?
Through the chair to Councillor Thompson, the prorated amount is going to be set. This tender, or this agreement, is in place until the July of 2027, so about 18 months of in place by time by time we start at the end of this year, beginning of January 2026. So we're going to just leave it as is and then reevaluate it when we put out a holistic tender moving forward.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Carr.
Thank you, Madam Chair. A couple questions. This recommendation involves pre-budget approval for 2026, and we've had other pre-budget approvals already. Can staff please advise council as to the date cumulative projected tax-supported budget impact should this motion be approved?
Director Ferguson.
Through the chair to Councillor Carr. To date, it would be about a 1.47% impact on the tax levy.
Okay, thank you. Madam Chair, my next question is based on usage for the city of Belleville, which was 11,190 based on 2024 usage, and the recommended budget amount, which is our taxation portion of $685,200. That works out to be approximately $59.56 per usage at the waste depot. Can staff advise council if that is a cost-effective price?
Director Reed?
Through the chair to Councillor Carr. Based on, I mean, the competition is limited. There really is no E360 is one of the waste disposal sites here in Belleville. They don't currently have an ECA available at their site to receive that. Based on the numbers for the operation of the depot, I would, in evaluating the results of the RFP, it seemed like we did get a very advantageous pricing. The disposal costs primarily are the biggest portion of this contract. They're running the day-to-day operations with 4 staff. It seemed to be fairly reasonable on what the costs were. The disposal costs are where the variable amount is, and it did seem a little high, but that $59 does include the disposal costs as well. So I think we are getting good value for our service.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. My last one is, just a comment and a question, but, provincially moving to the provincial pay recycling system and the dissolution of Quinte Waste Solutions works out to be a financially positive as far as the city's concerned. I know that in the last few years of Quinte Waste Solutions, there's been struggles with escalating costs and dwindling revenues, and then there's been drawing on reserves and even flirting with line of credits to cover operating expenses, which is never sound financial management. Question is, will the proceeds of its liquidation and or the annual savings as a result of the dissolution of Quinte Waste Solutions be utilized to make the repayments to the tax rate stabilization fund for 2025 and 2026?
Director Ferguson?
Through the chair to Councillor Carr, absolutely, upon dissolution, we'll be able to utilize some of that funding. In the report in front of you, we do want to bank on that, so it just identifies the dissolution of the actual operations, with the result being the reduction in 2027, when you'd see the financial impacts for that.
Okay, that's great. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Any other questions? Call for the motion. All in favor? Carried. Thank you very much. 8A5, provision of daytime security services, downtown district area. The resolution reads that pursuant to the Manager of Economic Development's report number ECDEV 2025-06, Council requests for staff report regarding funding for additional security in the area of the downtown district be received. Can I have a motion? Councillor Thompson, seconder. Councillor Kelly, discussion. Councillor Thompson.
I think this, and I asked for this report, and I, just on my way here today, I drove by the location down there, and the concerns the merchants have down there is so blatant, it's unbelievable, really. They were over on Hawkins Cheesy's property, probably about 25 of them. There was 3 or 4 wandering around in front of the sporting goods store, and there was 5 or 6 sitting on the little plaza. If we don't do this, we are really not looking after our merchants. So I asked the councillors to take this into consideration. The director, so this gives us 2 bodies during the day, is that right?
Director McGuire?
Thank you. Through the chair to Councillor Thompson, that's correct. So the daytime provisions would include 10 hours of service. It would be 2 guards, including a patrol car and a phone. And in the evening, what happens after they're off? The day shift is finished at what time? Through the chair to Councillor Thompson. So we are currently funding overnight security from approximately 7:30 p.m. to 7:30 a.m. It includes 3 hours of service overnight. So essentially, if this were to be, if council were to make a decision about adding daytime security, the service would continue starting at 7:30 a.m. to 7:30 p.m. And you feel that there's enough security with the random check at night then? Yes, through the chair, we receive monthly reports and monitor it on a monthly basis. And our understanding based on those reports is that the service being provided is adequate.
Have we had any conversations with any of the merchants about adding 2 security people during the day? Have they been approached, or do they feel that that's suffice for them?
Through the chair, I understand there was a meeting held, it would be a few weeks ago now, early May, I believe, where my staff attended along with a number of partners in the community and members of council. I know that was a discussion among the table of the merchants and a request that they had made. There was no additional discussion from my understanding. I know Victoria, who's our business retention and growth specialist, will be doing her regular walk around and meeting with the businesses tomorrow. That's a service we've been providing since the service at Church Street relocated, but there's been no direct request or anything formal come from the merchants.
So in this motion here, how much are we authorizing for the 2 security people for during the day?
Through the chair, so the motion or the recommendation is to receive the report. The report does include details if council were to move forward with a decision to procure daytime security, details of what the cost would be to provide adequate daytime service, as well as where those dollars could be funded from. And the recommendation there would be the Casino Economic Development Reserve Fund.
Okay, and so the motion is to receive this, but I would like to make an amendment, if that's the case, is to receive and move ahead with the daytime security, and the funds come where it's stated in the report. And that the two security people start immediately and get these merchants back in shape where they can conduct their regular business. So I need a seconder for that, for the amendment.
Do we have a seconder for the amendment? Can I second? Can I second?
So the motion is to move ahead then
The motion is to move ahead,
with the security.
implementing the,
Okay,
at 92,000, as per the report.
yeah.
Second. Any further discussion? Councillor Kelly? Thank you.
This isn't a new thing. We've been dealing with this 5+ years now. So I was with Councillor Thompson and Mayor Ellis. We met with, and the Economic Development, Victoria Watt was there from the city, downtown, was there about 3 weeks ago with some of the business owners on Church Street in around that area. Belleville Police Service was there as well. And in Alicia McGuire's report, she talks about the police. And I'm going to read some of these stats because not everybody has accessibility or access to these numbers. It's up on the website, but they're startling. Belleville Police report that 400 total calls for service in the area surrounding the current bridge location have been received from April 1st to May 14th. Of the 400 calls for service, 93 of them are officers doing proactive property checks on addresses surrounding the bridge. The other 307 police calls are primarily unwanted and suspicious persons and trespassing. So it's taking our police service away from what they're, also providing services for the 50,000 plus in our city. So the ask today is for 92,500. And I'm going to also tell you that there's been no change in our city. And I hope we get it right. And I'll go on record on May the 26th. I hope this hub is the answer. Because when I left council 2 weeks ago and spent some time with those that are unhoused, that are by City Hall, we're failing. Young ladies pregnant, 3 months old, still using, no home. The father of the child is there, homeless. Spoke to another individual that uses the bridge on a daily basis a couple of weeks ago, in her 30s with 3 children. A 3-month-old that is now in foster home. Mental health for this mom, drugs. We can't keep turning a blind eye and doing Band-Aid solutions. It's frustrating. Our community, the kindness that we have shown and continue to show, but people are tired. They're fatigued. They don't see any end, any progress. So it bothers me when I see this, and I know I'm not on that island alone. Public health has to take a greater role in our community. Businesses are being affected. This isn't new to Belleville. We had a law firm, we had a retirement center that the mayor and I met with a year and a half, 2 years ago, having the same challenges when it was at the former Bridge Street United Church. It's very frustrating. But we have to continue to be a compassionate, caring community, but get the right programs in place. Councillor Thompson talked today about when he came to council, what he witnessed, what he saw through his lens. That's his reality, and that's what the rest of us see. I hope this hub is the answer. We've soaked $7 million. We're working with the province. We've invested heavily. I hope we get it right. Or are we just going to move a situation a few blocks to the north? I spoke with the security in this area that do a lot of programs today. They monitor, a different agency monitors the nighttime. It's 3 hours from 7:30 to 10:30, and then 3 hours during the day in the downtown core. There's a different security company that manages the bridge. They have one individual. We're shooting for 2 today. I think I'm not involved in the security, but we need engaging people too, that walk to the businesses, that'll walk around, have conversations with people. Councillor Carr and I were there a couple of weeks ago, and the conversations we had with those that just need a helping hand, it's sad. I just hope we get it right and stop and talk to some of those that are going through this challenge right now. I have lived experience. It's hard work. It's taxing. A lot of the individuals that are in our community, their family have given up, their friends. Walk a day in their shoes. I'll leave it at that.
Thank you, Councillor Kelly. I have a few words if you'd sit in the chair for a moment. Thank you. I just had some comments that I wanted to make regarding this too, and I would support this increased staffing wholeheartedly, and have them patrol more around the 125 church area. This extra security, I believe, will be money well spent to provide a consistent presence to help manage the challenges this temporary location has that's created with the residents and the business for the businesses in the area. This will help offset the increased call for police, which they reported, as Councillor Kelly said, 400 calls from April 1st to May 14th. And if we do the math on that, for a sworn officer to be involved in these calls, it's staggering, really. We are paying already, regardless if we pay for the police or we pay for security. And I think security is probably a cheaper option. And I would also endorse the proposal for the money coming from the casino revenue, which I think is a great idea. I know staff has cautioned us that the increased security may filter down when the Heart Hub opens up, and we may have a Another problem on our hands, but I do think if that happens, we'll have to support the residents in that area and look at it in its entirety as well. But I would support the motion that's been placed on the floor. Thank you. Councillor Carr?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Lots of good comments and passionate comments regarding the situation in our city and quite frankly across every city in our nation. I'm going to just hone in a little bit on the security services that are in the motion on the floor. If I could, through you, Madam Chair, ask city staff to describe the current security services that are provided in the downtown district. I don't need to get into specifics because there's obviously some things that you don't want to articulate publicly because it is security related, but just give me an understanding of the patrol areas. Are they entering private property at any time? Are they patrolling simply public property, whether it be sidewalks, parking lots, trails, et cetera? And just an idea as to the current service, please.
Manager McGuire?
Through the chair to Councillor Carr. So the current provision for security services overnight, it is a 3 hours of service on a loop. There is one guard currently at night. It includes the BDIA area, which is Front Street and the west side of Pinnacle Street, and it has been extended to include the Church Street area where the hub is currently located. The downtown security was in place prior to the move, and we worked with the Canadian Health Organization to expand that road, and they are paying for that portion currently for the overnight service. In terms of public versus private property, I would say the majority of private property owners have provisions in place with both police and security that they can enter onto their property to deal with any unwanted situations. Part of the work we're doing through our office is to make sure that everybody is aware of that service. It is an approval that's required to allow them on private property. So anybody who currently isn't aware of it is going through the process right now. And the report, to be clear, the $92,500 would include the daytime security to include Front Street and Pinnacle Street. So essentially the exact same area we're currently covering overnight. The report does speak to a number of the types of activities that both police and security are dealing with, but specifically to mention a few, there is a dedicated security phone that's provided for overnight that can be called upon. Removing problematic individuals from property, fire reports, so mitigating public fires, and trying to prevent or report any encampment activity are a few items among a number that are listed in the report.
If I could, Madam Chair, I got a couple more questions, and thank you for that. So what I'm hearing is that if they have an agreement with the property owner that this security service can enter onto private property in order to enforce any security issues.
Through the chair to Councillor Carr, yes, that's correct.
Okay. So if I could, Madam Chair, I'm trying to reconcile the difference in cost. I see that we have an overnight now, and it's looped, and that, according to the report here, from January to December 2025 is $28,000 with a $5,000 contribution from the BIA. Why almost triple the cost for the daytime portion? What's driving up that cost? And in addition to that is the businesses in the area where we're looking to expand also paying into the BIA for any coverage or portion of their expenditure related to security.
Through the chair, so I'll answer the first portion of that question. So the difference in cost for what we're currently paying for overnight security versus daytime. So overnight security is 3 hours of service with one guard. Daytime security increases to 2 guards, and that's based on just the density and number of people that they're dealing with during the daytime versus overnight. It's 10 hours of service during that 12-hour period, and it includes a patrol car and a daytime phone service. the second part of that question, I believe, was in relation to whether businesses are providing funding. So we have, for the overnight security, the BDI is contributing $5,000 towards that currently to offset our investment. And the proposal would not include them covering any of the daytime services.
Okay. If I could, Madam Chair, in terms of the security that, through you, Madam Chair, that is provided downtown now, what's the success in dealing with removal for trespassing or other types of loitering or vagrancy or things of that nature with security? Is security, a private security company, been able to handle that, or do they start the engagement and then end up calling the police because they require the, I guess, the presence, if you will, of a law enforcement officer for the actual removal or to address the trespassing or any other kind of activity that's going on there?
Through the chair. So at a high level, I understand that the mitigation has been high. I know when we made the investment, we've started this investment since fall of 2023 and continued it into 2024. And certainly we are seeing high levels of mitigation. And I know there are reports, and they, at the time the service was being managed through the BDIA, so they were giving those reports directly from the police services, but there was great support from Belleville Police in terms of that level of mitigation. I don't have the exact comparables year over year with me, but that's certainly information that I could provide to council.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. Just a couple of comments. I think the important thing is, and I don't want to stray too far, but it needs to be repeated, that just because you're facing financial hardship and you're homeless does not make you a criminal. And not everybody that's experiencing homelessness has a substance abuse, drug addiction, or mental health. Everybody is an individual. We all want to be treated as individuals, and those individuals there that are suffering from those things to varying degrees need to be treated as individuals. Having said that, there's a report later that we're going to see on our housing needs assessment. We have 251 homeless counted in Belleville, and that takes on many forms. But then when you start looking at the anecdotal or the observational incidents that are occurring, it's not 251 homeless people that are raising concerns regarding trespassing or vagrancy or littering, for that matter. It's a small group at the end of the day. So I guess, you know, as I'm speaking, I have another question, Madam Chair. What, through you to staff, and hopefully they can answer, what expectations does the bridge put on its guests in terms of behavior? You know, for example, and I'll premise it this way, is that it's no secret that I work in the penitentiary system federally. I've dealt with mental health and substance abuse and addiction, even in the jail. We do have drugs in the jail. It's just a fact of life. But we're able to manage because we put behavioral expectations on people too, you know. We're not asking a lot, but putting things in garbage receptacles and things of that nature. What expectations are placed on guests in order to access the service? I know that when they enter the building now, having been down there with Councillor Kelly and did a tour, speaking with the director, that they have to hand in all their property. And that's by design for everyone's safety, which wasn't occurring at the other place, which is why you had assaults and all kinds of other nonsense going on. So it proves that if you put some rules and guardrails around people, even if they're struggling, they will meet those expectations. They will respect the service provision. What expectations, if staff can help me with that, do they put on guests in terms of, you know, are they being reminded not to be loitering? Do they even have garbage receptacles? When I was there wasn't any garbage receptacles out there. What expectations are we putting on the bridge as a community partner to say, look, you want to operate this service in our city, we have some expectations. When it was at the last location, meeting with the director there, the previous director, the response I got was, well, the garbage is on the street, so it's your problem, the city's problem. And that's not fair. We have property standards for a reason. We expect people to cut their grass, put their garbage out, and clean their garbage up. And while these individuals struggle and may not be able to handle those basic things, and we understand that they require support, but what kind of support are they getting within the confines of that program to say, hey, you want to access the services, there's simple rules. You lock up your stuff, you're welcome to come in, you can access the services, don't throw garbage on other people's property, respect everybody around you, be part of the community. This, you know, I understand that there's been meetings with the bridge. Has that ever been discussed or articulated in any way?
Manager McGuire, do you have any info on that?
Yes, to the chair. So I have had, Councillor Carr, the same tour as you had, so I was going to mention the same parameters that they have when guests need to provide their personal belongings at the door. My understanding is that there are a number of proactive measures that have been put in place since the move from Bridge Street to Church Street, but there are still a number of reactive things happening. It is not due to them wanting to be a willing community partner. I think there's a lot of good work being done by that group, and there is an absolute willingness to make improvements and recognize the impact that their service has on community stakeholders. I know that there is absolutely communication around what's acceptable to their neighbors and what's not, but at the end of the day, I can't speak to how they are directly monitoring that. I believe the resources they have are fairly focused to the service being provided at that site. What I can say is that moving forward, we've now had this service located in 2 locations. We will hopefully have them moved to a permanent location in the near future, and we are working with them to be as proactive as possible when it comes to stakeholder relations. I had a call with the Director of Canadian Mental Health last week, and we are looking at creating a task force, a small group that can ensure that stakeholder relations and communications is a priority, so that we are not dealing with the same discussions when we move to the permanent location as we're dealing the second time around at a temporary location.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. You know, I won't belabor it, but the city can't solve it all, the bottom line. And, you know, to Councillor Kelly's point is that, you know, I hope the Heart Hub's going to hit it. The Heart Hub is not going to hit it. You know, the province to suggest that they're going to give this money and that all is well in the world, that's foolish thinking. Because unless you have stable housing with supports around it, these individuals are going to go, they're going to access the bridge, the hub, whatever you want to call it, regardless of its geographical location, and they're still not going to have a place to live, and they're still going to be put on a wait list for mental health counseling. They're going to be on a wait list for addictions. We don't have any treatment beds, right? So, you know, you can talk all you want about treatment, but there's no treatment at the hub. There's referrals. So at the end of the day, unless you have that full, complete continuum of care, we're going to continue to wrestle with these issues. My question is are we going to spend an extra $90,000 at the municipal level to address not 251 homeless people and the issues they're creating, because that is inaccurate, 15 to 20 people perhaps that need to be addressed and probably have some guardrails put on them, and what better place than the individuals that provide that support. One thing I do know, and what I did see there, is the workers that have rapport with the individuals and the trust, then they will get compliance. So you can go in heavy-handed, whether you're a police officer or whether you're security, you're coming in as a level of authority. You're not going to get the same response as if you build rapport and respect with those individuals. They'll respect you back. And so then it becomes we need to be mindful of our neighbors, or we're going to be in trouble here. Because the same expectations that we put on Mr. and Mrs. Joe Q Public and cutting their grass and putting out their garbage, we expect on the bridge. It's that simple. And so why are we spending out this extra money when we have those community standards? What I say is we call on the bridge. And listen, don't get me wrong. meeting with the executive director, I talked to the nursing staff there, I talked to the volunteers. I wanted to get an understanding of the continuum of care. And there's going to be other issues that certainly I'll raise in the future, and some advocating we need to do on their behalf. They're doing great work, but they're doing work with one hand tied behind their back because they don't have those other things, and particularly supportive housing. What I say is that we also give the new leadership team there a chance, and I've already seen where they've instilled and made progress in comparison to the chaotic mess that was going on at the other locations, simply because there was no guardrails, there was no behavioral expectations, and quite frankly, from the leadership down, it was whatever happens outside these doors doesn't matter. Now, we also heard from staff that were assaulted because they weren't even being properly monitored within the facility. There's already been positive changes. So it's a matter of, do we allow this group to continue with that, put expectations on them as an organization, no different than we would anybody else, before we just start doling out $90,000 to have security. Because otherwise, every time that we have an issue throughout our city, whether it be a business or whether it be homeowners, I can guarantee you that there's going to be requests coming here and say, we want private security. So now we're funding private security and policing. And look, I don't think it's a police issue to probably 3/4 of the calls that they get. Unfortunately, the provincial legislation never really cleaned itself up, and police is the catch-all for everything, instead of focusing in on core policing. They're not social workers. They were never designed to be social workers. They're not trained to be social workers. So going down there to deal with this stuff is not within their purview. I just have a hard time reconciling $90,000 in a reactive way when there are other ways in which we make sure that organizations that provide services in our community meet that community standard.
Thank you, Councillor Carr. Councillor Brown, then Councillor Thompson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. More so, some observations. So, first and foremost, I want to say that the intent, what people are hoping to do first with the bridge and subsequently with the Heart Hub, is in direct response to the mental health and addictions issue that we have in the city. It doesn't address homelessness. Whatever it is, these solutions that we put in place will not solve homelessness. Housing will, social housing will. And that's not all part of the plan. So it's really, we need to be very, very clear here that what we're asking the individuals to do is not to solve homelessness, but rather to be able to provide a safe place to go during daytime hours and some access to referrals related to mental health and addictions. Just FYI, at the May 14th Community and Human Services Committee, one of the things we talked about was the point in time study in terms of the numbers of homelessness. And yes, I know the numbers tend to be bantered about, but all of that said, we've landed on 251 currently, and I'm okay to do that. But what was surprising was that 60% of the individuals that are within that count suffer from mental health or addictions or a combination of both. 60% of the population. So the expectations in terms of the frameworks we put in place for these individuals in the vulnerable population to some degree will address this. But I also want to observe, I do not think it was helpful that an Intel article was published on the 23rd of May that absolutely made it the community's issue. And some of, I'll quote, because I wrote some of them out. Encampments are not permitted on the bridge property because the goal is to create an inclusive and safe service area. But it's okay to have those same individuals go across the street or invade people's property down. It's okay during, from 7:30 to 4:30 every day, or from 7:30 to 7:30 at night. It's okay to create a safe, inclusive space for their guests, but that same courtesy isn't extended to the community as a whole. Similarly, and it goes back to a comment that Councillor Carr offered, which is when asked, what happens with all the garbage and such when the people leave the bridge, when it was at Bridge Street, and say, well, it's on your property, so it's not my problem. A very similar comment was included in that Intel article, which said the bridge stream can only control what happens in the building and on the property. It can't control what happens elsewhere. Well, that comes back to if there were some rules and some guidelines and actually some educational aspects, whether it be through Canadian Mental Health or through the community health services or the bridge staff themselves. It's not acceptable, and their guests need to understand, it is not acceptable to leave the location all day long and go off property and then misbehave. And I say misbehave because as much as the third comment was, society is making this vulnerable population feel like they are breaking the law because they are homeless. That's incorrect. They are breaking the law, not all. I agree. It's not all 251. It is a small subset, and who better to understand who that subset is but the bridge and their staff? Because proportionally for what's happening down there, the calls for service are trespassing, theft, break and enter on vacant properties, something by night. I'm trying to think of the phrase that's used, prowling by night. Those are criminal aspects. Those are things that if I did it and on somebody else's property, I'd be arrested for. But in this circumstance, they're not. I appreciate the police can't be everywhere, but understanding that's what the community is talking about. A long way of saying, I don't think having 2 security guards roaming around for 10 hours a day is an effective use of the resources. What I do think we should be having discussions with, and due respect, I appreciate the small teams that are being put in place, is where's the bridge accountability for their guests? When do they start taking accountability for what's happening the minute it leaves their property? Because it's not like it leaves their property and it goes away. It leaves their property and goes directly across the street. They can see what's happening. Where is their accountability? It's part of the community as a whole. So at the end of the day, and with all due respect to my colleagues around the table, I do not support investing another $92,000 into this problem because I don't think that the accountability should fall with the taxpayer. I don't believe that with all of the money that the taxpayers are already contributing to trying to find solutions, that this is one more thing that should fall to the taxpayer to cover. There's money for security. I believe in the Heart Hub operations. I respect, and I've spoken with the staff there. I've spoken with staff at Canadian Mental Health. I get that the province hasn't sent them their money yet, or at least not when the last conversation I had. Again, that's a provincial problem. If the province is committed to this and expected them to be open by the 1st of April, show me the money. Show them the money. Be respectful to them. That's a provincial government issue. And until that happens, and once the Heart Hub gets the funding that they need, then they need to start having conversations about how do they work better with the community that surrounds them. I respect that there's 251 people who are without homes. 60% of them need some sort of assistance. Deal with that. But at the same time, be respectful of the community that surrounds them. It's been the same issue for the last 5 years when it was at Bridge Street United Church. Nothing's changed. In fact, it's gotten worse moving to 125 South Church Street. I get that staff, I get that Ashley and her team are doing their very best to put new rules in place, but it's not fast enough. And we need to hold the accountability where it belongs, and that's with the people. If any one of us owned a restaurant or a business or whatever in the downtown core, and our guests were leaving and causing this problem out in the community, you can bet we would be holding that business owner to account. What the heck is going on? Can I mention the Bell Pub, the Duke? Bylaw enforcement and policing goes after the owner. They don't go after the people out on the street. In this circumstance, that owner happens to be the bridge. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Brown. Councillor Thompson?
I'm going to speak last. If anybody else has got anything to say, I'll speak last because I have a few extra words to say.
Thank you, Councillor Kelly.
Through you, Madam Chair, thank you. I appreciate the comments from our colleagues today around the horseshoe. I guess, want clarification. In Manager McGuire's report, it said that the funds could be coming from the casino funds, Economic Development Reserve Fund. I have a question. I'll just direct that to Manager McGuire.
Manager McGuire.
So through the chair, that would be the recommended account that it be funded from if council were to make that decision, yes.
All right, thank you. And just finally, after meeting with the businesses, I know it's another kick, 92,000, but we still have another 5 or 6 months until the hub is, I believe, up and running. So can't turn it back right now. I'm going to support the motion by Councillor Thompson.
Councillor Thompson.
Yeah, I've listened to lots of discussion here, and a lot of it's centered in the hub, which we haven't moved to yet. It's down the road. We've already committed dollars to the hub, and that's coming down the road. Right now, we have a situation downtown. Those merchants didn't ask for this place to open there. It was put there because they needed another location. So now we're going to tell those merchants, sorry, you pay $100,000 taxes. It's too bad. These people and the security down there isn't discriminating to anyone in particular. They're trying to make it easier for the hub, that temporary hub, to do their job. So, you know, they've only got so many manpower. So you want to hire more people to work in that place? Maybe they can do the security. But we need security down there to get them back on the location where they're supposed to be. Simple as that. They're not supposed to be in front of that place that sells four-wheelers. They cannot put those vehicles out in front of their building to sell. So is it the homeless fault? Is it our fault? Our situation is that place, I don't know what kind of taxes they pay, but when they can't even put their vehicles out front to sell, that's our problem. Because we put these people down there. We may not have a city put them down there, but we put them down there, and those people deserve security down there. They deserve to be able to open up their business. And the other one, the funeral home. We haven't talked about Burke's. People are going down there during the day when there's funerals down there and making a disturbance. They've had to put in 20 extra cameras to stop the problem. We as a city, and I know I like $92,000 is $92,000, but when we look at our budget, you're kind of telling me that we don't put $92,000 in other areas that may not be the best. This thing is for taxpayers. This thing is for the homeless. This figure's for the hub to do their job right. Should they be doing other things down there to make it more comfortable, to get the garbage? I believe, and I've talked to them. I was down there one day when the police were there. I talked to two of them. They said, we're going to have to get more police. He says, we can't do that. So what you need to do, Garn, is get security down here. So do we pay a security $30 an hour, $40, or do we pay a policeman $150 an hour? Come on now, we're all smart enough around this table to know that that isn't that good economics. So, and we could hire more police, not a problem, $150,000, $200,000 a year with benefits and everything. This is a short term. We owe it to those merchants. We owe it to the people of Belleville to make those people most comfortable without being ignorant and making them do stuff they don't want to. They need to be over. There's lots of room on that property. They don't need to be on somebody else's property. These security will be able to put them over there so the hub can get more benefits to them, more control on them. And if we need garbage cans, okay, let's tell them to put more garbage cans out. That's fine by me. But we cannot turn this down, and I'll be very disappointed if this council turns down $92,000 to help probably at least a half a dozen merchants down there. And, you know, I'm sure they may threaten they're going to close, and they may not, and they may. Who knows? But they're desperate. They need our help for $92,000. We better give them the help they need now and get it there. And we go and move to the hub, well, that's a whole different ballgame. You know, we put money into the hub. If we have to hire security down there, maybe that'll be the case. But right now, we're dealing with this. We're not dealing with the hub. The hub will come in February. Let's not worry about the hub now. Let's worry about this. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other discussion? I call for the vote. Those in favor? Recorded vote. Thank you.
So this is the vote on the amendment to move forward with the daytime security fund and security funds as noted in the staff report. Councillor Kelly?
Yes.
Councillor Sue?
Yes.
Councillor Thompson?
Yes?
Councillor Brown?
No.
Councillor Carr?
No.
Councillor Enright Miller?
Yes.
Mayor Ellis? Carried by 5. On the amendment, so the next motion would be the original motion as amended.
So move.
Seconder? Councillor Kelly? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. 8A6, Recreation Subsidy Fee Assistance Program. The resolution reads that pursuant to the Recreation Program Supervisor's Report number RPS-2025-02, that the Recreation Program Subsidy Fee Assistance Policy as amended be approved. Can I have a mover? Mayor Ellis, seconder. Councillor Carr, any discussion? Councillor Kelly.
Thank you, Madam Chair, through you. Just wanted to thank Recreation Program Supervisor Tanya Grierson for the report and such positive stories in our community. To know that 188 families were helped out in the past year. Affordability means something in recreation as well, so good stuff. That's a good story from our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. 8A7, execution of model home agreement, Settlers Ridge East Phase 3. Thank you. Seconder? Councillor Brown, all in favor? Carried. Thank you. Consent items. 8B, council may adopt consent items by one motion, but prior to consideration of such motion, members may request that specific items be removed from consideration under such motion, and council shall consider such items individually. And I shall go around the table. Councillor Kelly.
I'd like to pull 8B2.
8B2. Councillor Brown.
No, thank you.
Mayor Ellis.
No, thank you.
Councillor Sue.
8B5.
Thank you. Councillor Carr.
I'll speak to 8B2, but 8B4, please.
Thank you. Councillor Thompson.
No, thank you.
Okay, can we have a motion to approve excluding 8B2, 8B5, and 8B4? Mayor Ellis, seconder. Councillor Thompson. Okay, 8B2, Councillor Kelly, you're up first.
Thank you. I'm trying to find my notes here. Sorry about that. There we go.
Sorry, before I start discussion, can I have a Mayor Ellis, seconder? Councillor Thompson? Oh, okay, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair, through you. First of all, thanks to Mr. Deming and his team. This was an enjoyable read over the weekend. Thankfully, it was raining and had a chance to go through it a couple of times. So It's the Housing Needs Assessment Report we're referring to. Every 5 years, the city is responsible to update its housing needs assessment. And just going through it, the report indicated that the city of Belleville in 10 years will be in around 67,000 people. And affordable homes has been mentioned numerous times in the report. I did want to highlight something, and that is just what our community looks like. And homes with single parents, predominantly women. And I don't think that's any surprise. I had all my notes in here as I'm stalling, as you can see, but huge number. And we're not surprised by that. We know it's a challenge for single parents to make ends meet. We talk about affordability in our community. I think the average home in the report was just over $400,000. But sometimes we see this in reality that that's not always the case when you live in the city. And I must have taken the notes, that I apologize about that. But good report, here it is. Owner households in Belleville, Quinte West, CMA, earn significantly more than tenant households. So if you're a homeowner, you're making around, your income is $93,000. If you're renting, it's close to $50,000. And one-parent families, women, 79% of one-parent families. So we talk about affordability. And this past weekend, and this report came out, I went and spent some time with a local contractor. For those in our area, we know that we're an aging demographic. People are retiring to Belleville, looking for options. Not everybody can step into a $400,000 or $500,000 or $600,000 home. And I spent some time with a local builder, and his model is being showcased in Kingston, the Muskokas, Windsor, and London areas. Are having conversations. He's a builder by the name of Brower, and these homes come in at around $150,000. And there's conversations now that with developments like this, Kingston is talking to him that where the city of Kingston would give land up that the city has and do subdivisions that are living pods. So I spoke to Mr. Ashton tonight from the city of Belleville. This is something that I think we can look forward to in the coming years. Livable pods, affordability, sustainability, they're comfortable. So we have to be creative, and when you have a contractor that I spent some time with on the weekend showcasing me that living pod, gives me a better idea what potentially could be coming to the city of Belleville. Because when we come back to $50,000 for those, that's their income that are renting, and about $93,000 for homeowners. And then when we look at home ownership, and then there's a bunch of variables, and I have the pleasure of sitting on the Southeast Health Unit, and health becomes a factor in where you're at, whether you're working, renting, owning a home. Your overall health is a factor. So we know that, and I keep coming back to the single parents and particularly the moms. Good for you if you can continue to do it. It's not easy, but I think these model homes, the city can work together and offer up some land. We could have a really nice development where the word affordability actually means something.
Thank you, Councillor Kelly. Councillor Carr?
Thank you, Madam Chair. And yeah, certainly an informative report that'll serve us well, not only the city proper, but home builders, developers, and individuals in terms of the housing need in our city. In the section 2 of the housing needs assessment, under community profile and trends, section 2.1 notes that one of the key housing policies and targets of the official plan relate to affordable housing, and specifically, at least 25% of all new housing must be affordable for low and moderate income households. And we've seen in the data sets that are there, what is the low and moderate income households. So my question is the city meeting that 25% target? And when I mean the city, obviously, again, I need to to caveat that with, we're not building, but our builders meeting that target as per our official plan.
So,
Director Ashton?
so I think, so this is a report that basically we will work, for lack of better, so those are questions that we can look at, go into deeper, look at policy to see if we need to update our policy. So it's sort of a roadmap and background data to move forward with in the future. So we would, do I have that answer right now at this point in time? No, but is that something we can look into in the future? Yes.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. And I do know that we passed our official plan, and that was one of our targets. So I'd be interested to see whether the building is actually meeting that target. When I look at page 19, I think it is, or yeah, 19 or 29 to 66 in our agenda, income categories and affordable shelter costs. And when you look at that chart, it clearly demonstrates that the financialization of housing has caused prices to skyrocket beyond affordable levels based on income. So as you can see, the income levels and what the expectations are in terms of the target of affordable shelter costs, what people make in income aren't covering the cost of shelter at all. And then if you look at page 30, just a couple things that kind of jumped out at me, 30 of 66, 2021 affordable housing deficits demonstrates a deficit of over 3,000 affordable homes for very low income, and even moderate income households. It's astounding to think that there's a deficit of 3,000 homes. So despite all the building that's occurring, it's missing a large segment of the population. And it's funny too, because you know that you always hear home builders say, well, we build to the market. Well, what market? Obviously, we're looking at the GTA market and relocation, and people selling their multi-million-dollar homes and bringing bags of cash here, and then dropping it down on a house here at astronomically high prices. And when we get into the development charge discussion, which I know will come up at some point, I've got some revealing numbers on that one in terms of the disparity of what true costs are. But we're missing the mark. 3,000 affordable homes for very low income, and even moderate income households. That's astounding. And then the other thing that really stood out in this report was between 2019 and 2024, the cost of a single or semi-detached home increased from a median price, and I think that's important to know that that's just the median price, of $290,000 to $415,000, representing an increase of 43% in 5 years. I think cheap debt was a result of some of that, and then again, the financialization of housing. Similarly, the average rent for a row or apartment in Belleville increased from $1,110 in 2019 to $1,435, representing an increase of 30%. And again, when you look at the incomes aren't going up 43% over 5 years and 30% over 5 years for rentals. And so again, you know I harp on it, but the financialization of housing, as well as land speculation and land costs, are not identified in this needs assessment, but certainly play a role in the factors of housing costs. It's been well researched in other jurisdictions, both provincially and nationally, and it's reflected definitely in the data, just isn't flushed out in terms of the land costs. But there's work to be done, and I think this is not only an alert to us as civic leaders, but to our partners in home building, our partners in affordable housing, social housing. We have to get to work, and we really have to put the onus on everybody because we're leaving people behind. And we talked earlier about 251 homeless individuals in our city. Based on these statistics, the figure that Councillor Kelly described about single moms and the households, and then looking at some of this data here, we're going to continue to see people fall off the housing spectrum if this continues. There needs to be a significant correction here in so many ways. And I will say that I think in the last 4 or 5 years, people over leveraged themselves. The banks were handing out lots of debt. We have this fascination with investing in real estate, and that's why we lag in the G7 in productivity. We don't produce things. We build houses, and then they sit. And then we expect that prices to rise, and that's going to be our retirement savings someday. The generation coming behind, based on these statistics, is not buying your retirement nest egg that you have as a home. They can't afford it. And so, you know, I appreciate having this report. This is going to be something that's going to be tabbed for me to continue to look at and draw on as we have these conversations with all our stakeholders. But we have lots of work to do in order to ensure people have a safe home and stability in their life in this community.
Thank you, Councillor Carr. Councillor Braun?
Thank you, Madam Chair. On page 24 of 66 of the report, it talks about subsidized housing representation, that 17.6 of the tenant households live in subsidized housing, reflecting a notable portion of the population. And further on the report, it says that we currently have 1,134 families on the social housing wait list. A question, I guess, for staff is, social housing is actually a provincial responsibility through an upper tier government. So in our case, through Hastings County. They're responsible for all of the current social housing stock, subsidized and geared to or below market. And they also monitor how many families who are on that particular wait list. So my question is, as this was included as, and I appreciate a report that's already completed and submitted, but this, is it fair to interpret that we have an obligation through our housing stock to provide that subsidized housing representation, we being the city?
Director Ashton?
So, sorry if I can just repeat the question. So do we have a responsibility to provide housing or subsidize housing?
Yes.
So I think with this data, I think we can work with the county to sort of look at opportunities for subsidized housing. I think over the past few years, we've been very progressive with our zoning bylaw, new zoning bylaw, and removing barriers to give a lot more opportunities so that we can build subsidized housing that doesn't sort of reflect people's zoning. So there's a lot coming out of this, and I think it's probably having a report like this is to sort of look at, you know, obviously some of it can be overwhelming, but just to break it down and what are the key things we should focus on. So maybe I think one of the recommendations from about 4 to 5 years ago, and we probably haven't had time, is to develop closer relationships with the county, like at a staff level, for instance. So those might be things that we move forward with this and provide solutions, because I think it is going to be a lot of people working together. I remember working a co-op at, or when I was in co-op at Waterloo University, for nonprofit housing, there was partnerships, for instance, with faith-based institutions. So maybe there's sort of lessons from history sort of thing that we can move forward with. So yeah, it's going to be a lot of work, but I think this sort of lays some of the foundational work that we can work towards. And I think it's a community, the community will have to come together and kind of come up with solutions, whether it's here at the county, private institutions, or organizations, those sorts of things.
So if I may, is this a matter, when we say that, I'm sorry, I'm stuttering all the way, because I'm absorbing at the same time. When we say that we're working in conjunction with the county, so one of the discussions that we have regularly at Community and Human Services is the fact that we have this rapidly growing wait list for social housing, but they don't have the funding. And it comes back to they're not getting enough money from the province to address this. So if it's within our, in our reports, right, so let me get the language right. Housing needs assessment. If we're identifying the subsidized housing, ultimately who's going to pay for it? If the county doesn't have money and we're not funded for it, and housing really is a provincial responsibility, are we anticipating that there will be provincial and/or federal grants made available to us to address this issue?
So I think one of the purposes of this, which was a requirement of receiving funds from the Housing Accelerator Fund, and it sort of builds support for lobbying for more funding. So I would say that this data that hopefully will every 5 years gets updated will allow us to sort of work with the county perhaps and try to apply for more funding for opportunities for development of social housing. I think that's where some of this value of this report lands as well.
And my final question. So on page 28 of 66, it talks about the fact that Belleville in and of itself is a vehicle-dependent community. And that we have like 16,000 cars on the road. But it goes on further to say that one of the limitations that's evident is the lack of public transportation outside of the city core, as well as the lack of interconnectivity between the Belleville and Trenton areas. So my question is, in how many of the applications that we have currently pending or underway as it relates to north of the 401 or east of Hague Road include affordable housing?
Who would like to take that question? Director Ashton?
So probably don't have those details at my fingertips, but probably council just approved the ADU program, so that's a form of affordable housing. I think north of the 401, council approved funding for just an overall land use review within the urban area, so that will be a good opportunity, I think, to look at is there more room for affordable housing or opportunities for different types of development uses, perhaps along corridors, those sorts of things. So I don't have the exact details, but obviously I think the intention of this is to sort of form policy as we keep moving forward and try to constantly improve how we deliver, housing sort of thing, or make opportunities to deliver housing for the private. And I think what's evident even through the federal government initiatives, public housing as well seems to be a priority that they're going to move forward with as well. So
I just wanted to share an observation. The transit master plan that we have in place actually has 2 growth areas for future, if and when at such time demand requires it. One is north of the 401 back into the subdivisions, where we've had 2 pilots that did not work, that were not successful, and that the taxpayers didn't support. The second being extension from Bell Boulevard west of Sydney as another potential growth area. So I think in fairness, I just wanted to be clear, it's not that the public transportation isn't available, is that it was in north chosen not to be available by the taxpayers and with the support of their councillors. And anything west of Bell Boulevard would be at such a time where we would actually see the demand for it because there's residential. Currently, everything going on west is commercial and or hotels, casinos, gas stations, but not enough demand for it there. But I just, like I said, in fairness to our transit staff and our transit master plan, it was addressed, it has been addressed as a future opportunity, and we will look at extending the services into that at such time that there's an actual demand for the service.
Thanks for the clarification, Councillor Brown. Any other discussion on 8B2? Seeing none, all in favor? Carried, thank you. And just going down in order, 8B4, I believe, Councillor Carr, you pulled that one. You'll move that, seconder? Mayor Ellis? Councillor Carr?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. The Northeast Industrial Park Expansion, Phase 1 detailed design, and the capital budget expansion. And I just wanted to say thank you to staff. You know, it's been highlighted before. I know the mayor's comment on it before, where we're running out of industrial land, and to include the scope to include an extra 230 acres as part of that detailed design is prudent and forward-thinking. And as we continue to grow economically in our city, we need to make sure we have industrial land for that. And you know, I know right now in a little bit of a bind in terms of what we have available. So it's good that we're going that extra mile, literally, and then some, in order to make sure we're prepared for the future. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Carr. Any other discussion? All in favor of 8B4? Carried, thank you. 8B5 pulled by Councillor Sue. Councillor Sue, move that, seconder? Councillor Kelly? Councillor Sue.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Electric vehicle charging stations. I would like to thank the staff and Director Reed in particular for the report on EV stations. And I am encouraged by the words describing the goal of supporting the green movement and the potential recommendation of inclusion as a line item in the budget. We owe it to the citizens of Belleville to not fall behind. I see the potential charging spots at the Quinte Sports and Wellness Center being used as both charging and parking spots for EV owners who are either attending an event at the center or using the facilities. So they would also generate revenue for the city. Therefore, if I may, I would like to make a motion asking that the staff immediately prepare a plan to install a minimum of 4 charger stations at Quinte Sport Wellness Center. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Sue. Yep, you got it. Is there a seconder for the motion? Councillor Kelly? We would need a funding source.
Procedure-wise, you need two-thirds.
Two-thirds? Okay.
So it might be better for a notice of motion, but that's up to whoever made the motion.
Notice of motion? All in favor of the notice of motion as written? No, we don't?
That's it. Councillor Sue wants to.
Councillor Sue, you're
Yes.
okay with the notice of motion?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, just a motion to receive. All in favor? Carried, thank you. 8C, information items. Council may adopt information items by one motion, but prior to consideration of such motion, members may request that specific items be removed for consideration under such motion, and council shall consider such items individually. We'll go around the table. Councillor Tom, sorry? We only have 2, general 8C1A and 8C1B. Building section month-end report, April 2025, and notification of purchases, April 2025. Councillor Thompson?
I got no questions.
No. Councillor Carr? No, thank you. Councillor Sue?
No, thank you.
Mayor Ellis? Councillor Brown?
No, thank you.
Councillor Kelly?
No, thank you.
Thank you. Motion to approve. Councillor Kelly, seconder. Councillor Carr, all in favor? Carried. Thank you. 8D, Rise and Report. We have a resolution that Committee of the Whole does now rise and report, return to Council at 5:35. Thank you. Okay. Moved by Councillor Carr, seconded by Councillor Brown. All in favor? Carried. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Enright Miller. I need resolutions for bylaws number 2025, 97, 98, 99, 100, and 101 be read and passed. Moved by Councillor Kelly, seconded by Councillor Thompson. Discussion? All in favor? Carried. New business, starting with Councillor Carr.
Thank you, Mayor. I have two items under new business. The first one, a number of years ago, a number of terms ago, I seconded a motion to have council recorded and broadcast live, and I was proud to support that. And then in 2020, council voted a capital project 1.061, which was approved for $20,000 in the 2020 capital budget and was later combined into the council chambers modernization project. And that capital project was the council electronic voting system, and the modernization project was completed and closed in 2022, and the infrastructure and costs of electronic voting during council meetings was complete at the same time. Given that council has approved this and public funds have been spent, I'd like to request a staff report to council outlining reasons for the delay in its implementation and an implementation plan for council electronic voting. So that's my first issue. The second one under general business, the Ontario government introduced Bill 17, the Protect Ontario by Building Faster and Smarter Act. Boy, they get creative. If passed, Bill 17 will impact virtually every stage of the land development process, from the submission of planning applications to calculation of development charges and implementation of construction standards. The Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, I guess, provided a summary letter to heads of council on May 13th, which I was able to locate one on a law firm's website. Therefore, I was requesting that staff provide a report to council for consideration at the June 9th meeting, outlining Bill 17 and any issues that the city should be raising with the Ontario government through the Regulatory Registry of Ontario or the Environmental Registry of Ontario. And there's some cited timeframes coming up very shortly. Thank you.
Councillor Enright Miller.
Thank you, Your Worship. Through you, I have a budget item that I wanted to present to everyone and to the public that may be listening. And it's on behalf of the Police Services Board. I wanted to provide you with an important update regarding the 2025 Court Security and Prisoner Transport Grant, which is known as the CSPT grant. And this is a key funding mechanism for municipalities that host a provincial courthouse, such as Belleville. As you know, we are fortunate to have a beautiful, modern, and well-equipped courthouse on Bridge Street. However, what may not be widely understood is that any shortfall in this CSPT grant funding directly impacts the Belleville Police Services budget and, by extension, the city's budget. For 2025, the BPS submitted a CSPT budget of $1,595,800. And on March 21st, we were advised by the province that our approved allocation will be $1,378,355, resulting in a shortfall of $217,445. This is particularly challenging given the broader financial pressures facing policing and municipal budgets. Under the Community Safety and Policing Act 2019, police services are mandated to ensure adequate and effective court security and prisoner transportation within their jurisdiction. And I repeat, mandated. This includes responsibilities such as in-court officer presence and prisoner transfers. These obligations are non-negotiable and must be filled regardless of funding levels. Again, non-negotiable. Unfortunately, the CSPT grant has consistently fallen short of actual operational costs that we face. For your awareness, the historical deficits incurred by the Belleville Police Service under this grant are as follows. 2020, the deficit was $533,992. In 2021, the deficit was $591,809. In 2022, the deficit was $624,049. In 2023, the deficit was $400,552. And in 2024, a whopping $878,950. These amounts have been absorbed within the BPS budget each year, but the increasing gap is unsustainable. It is also worth noting that while the courthouse serves a broader regional area, the City of Belleville alone bears the financial burden of these services. The Police Services Board Chair and I have formally written to the Minister requesting a review and increase in funding. However, we have not yet received a response, and we are not sure if we will receive a response. We felt it very important to bring this issue to your attention as it represents a significant and growing pressure on the police services budget, which means our budget. One over which we have little control and one that the public may not fully appreciate. As stewards of public safety and fiscal responsibility, we are committed to transparency and to working collaboratively on sustainable solutions. While we're all aware of the rising cost of policing, this situation presents additional challenges that make managing these costs even more difficult. So I just wanted to bring this to everyone's attention so you know that this is embedded in not only the police services budget, but our own budget, and it hurts. So thank you.
Okay, anybody else? Seeing none, I have one here also, a walk-on bylaw. It's for the transfer of property located at 93 Dundas Street East, the former police station, to Habitat for Humanity. So I need a mover and a seconder, and actually there's a conflict of interest on this also that Councillor Brown has noted, so Councillor Brown will not be voting on this. Bylaw number 2025-103, a bylaw to authorize and transfer the property located at 93 Dundas Street East. Bill will be read and passed this 26th day of May 25th of 2025. Councillor Carr, seconded by Councillor Enright Miller. Discussion, all in favor? Carried. Okay, announcements. Pardon me? This here? Oh, notice of motions. Okay, yes, Councillor Carr.
Thank you, Mayor. I know this meeting's gone on a little bit. Everybody's eager to move forward.
Longest meeting ever.
Well, that's what we get paid for.
Yes, I know.
Notice of motion here that Mayor and the Council of the Corporation of the City of Belleville call on Hastings County as the provincially designated service manager for social housing to develop a multi-year capital plan for the construction of affordable and social housing in order to eliminate the current county wait list for housing, as well as the provision of adequate supportive housing for the county's homeless population, and that the capital plan be subject to federal and provincial funding, and that a copy of this motion be sent to the Hastings County Community and Human Services Committee. Thank you.
I have a notice of motion, Your Worship. Sorry, thank you. And it's not prepared, but I would ask for a notice of motion to support sending a letter on behalf of City Council to the Minister about the shortfall in the CSPT grant.
I think you probably don't need a notice of motion with council's permission. I can just write that and sign it.
Okay.
I see that out here on the floor. Yeah, great. So we'll
Perfect.
set that up.
Thank you. I might as well just stay standing. You're not going to like me, sorry. I do have a couple of announcements, if you'll indulge me. First, from our Accessibility Committee, just some really nice, fun stuff. Starting in May, all Accessibility Advisory Committee meetings will have an ASL interpreter. So yay, whoa, whoa. May 25th to the 31st is National Accessibility Week, a time to celebrate the valuable contributions and leadership of persons with disabilities in Canada, the work of allies, organizations, and communities that are removing barriers, and the ongoing efforts to become a more accessible and disability-inclusive Canada. In honor of this year's celebration, the City of Belleville is hosting 3 special events throughout the week. First, this is our second year for the Belleville Accessibility Excellence Awards, so please join us. It's tomorrow, May 27th, from 11 to noon in the multipurpose room at the Quinte Sports and Wellness Center, as we celebrate 14 recipients of the 2025 Accessibility Excellence Awards. And these awards recognize and highlight local businesses and individuals in our community who go out of their way to provide and advocate for accessibility provisions. And we did things a little different this year. Rather than picking one person from each category, we are going to give awards out to everybody that was nominated because we feel that they all deserve our recognition. And on Thursday, May 29th, from 2:30 to 3:30 in council chambers right here, there will be a special announcement and demonstration. The City of Belleville will be hosting a special announcement and demonstration of the new assisted listening device which have been installed at City Hall and at the 50+ Center in the multipurpose room at the Quinte Sports and Wellness Center. And we are thrilled that this initiative has taken place, so thank you very much. And join us Friday, May 30th from 2 to 4 on the 3rd floor of the meeting room at the Belleville Public Library for a special book reading event with local author Scott Granville. And it's called Iron Knee Will Book Reading. During the event, Scott will read from his upcoming book, Iron Knee, Iron Will, an exercise book for the entire body and mind that he developed after dealing with several health issues and back-to-back hit-and-run car crashes. Scott will be reading from the new book, which will be available on Amazon this summer. A reminder that the Glenmore National Historic Site is also currently hosting the Signed Languages of Canada exhibit, which will run at the museum from July 27th. And for more information, please visit glamore.ca. And just a reminder of 2 deadlines coming up August 31st. First is the application for the ODSP property tax credit for 2025. Applicants must be on ODSP benefits and own and occupy a property as their principal residence, and applicants could qualify to receive up to $1,100 tax credit towards their 2025 property tax. And the second is the seniors rebate application. It is now open for individuals in receipt of the Guaranteed Income Supplement under the Old Age Security Act of Canada who are 65 years of age or older by December of 2024. You must own and occupy your property, and you could be eligible for $1,100 property tax credit for 2025. To qualify, you have to fill out the application, both of which can be found on the Belleville.ca website, and both tax credits are based on council's budget approval each year. Thank you very much for that. May I still stand? I have one more, sorry. A little note from the Green Task Force, just an update from the Green Task Force on events that we have just had, which were roaring successes. Our Seedy Saturday event, which we held in March, we had a variety of informative workshops, unique seeds, and gardening supplies from local vendors. We had 700 people in attendance. Trash Bash was in April with help from local communities who cleaned up local parks and open spaces. The total collected in Belleville was 3,220 pounds of trash, so woohoo, great job everybody. And our seedling giveaway also happened in April. We gave away 2,000 native seeds, bare root seedings to the community to be planted on private property. It was a rainy day, but a wonderful turnout. Some pilot projects we've been working on, however, they are in conversation with staff right now, so they're not written in stone yet, but we are working with the bird-friendly committee group to evaluate the possibility of Belleville being a bird-friendly city. We are a bee-friendly city. We would like to be a bird-friendly city too. This is brand new, as I said, and the conversations still have to happen with staff, so nothing written in stone yet. And we are trying to increase our multi-residential composting through educational resources, the food cycle science. The pilot project ran in 2024 at a Thurlow multi-residential unit, and the results were very successful. And the goal is to decrease Belleville's carbon footprint when it comes to waste management, promoting a circular economy. And there were little machines that we gave people, put them on their counter, and it churns up all their stuff and makes compost, and they were loving it. So we're going to come to the city with that and see if maybe other people might be interested as well. And the Green Task Force will be exploring avenues to work with staff to possibly increase the number of community gardens within our park spaces during development and redevelopment projects that are on the books to address food insecurity issues that people in Belleville experience. So thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Wright Miller. Councillor Brown?
Thank you, Your Worship. 2 transit-related. The first being that we have just reviewed the ridership stats for the first 4 months of the year, and I'm pleased to advise that we saw an increase of 71,000 riders as compared to the first 4 months of 2024. So we continue to see that upward trend in ridership numbers. And something that we hope will make it grow even more is over the last 2 weeks, we have received the 3 hybrid buses that were ordered on behalf of the city. I had an opportunity to actually go and creep around one and take a look inside and out. They are quite distinct, and so we're looking forward to the launch of those buses. Currently, they are in the terminal while we have the fare boxes installed, make sure that the software is up to date. Also, so some of the things that people will notice on these new buses, in addition to the fact that they are really tall, significantly taller than our current buses, and therefore we're hoping that winter will be very good to us because there's barely this much room to get through the door at the terminal. But that said, that because of that, there are certain features that have been added into the hybrid buses because these were custom designed for us, by us, is significantly more headroom, that there will be layers of seats so that people sitting at the back of the bus have greater height so they can actually see right through to the front. We've added more announcement LED screens at the front and in the middle in both directions and at the back of the bus so that when we want to announce upcoming stops or surveys or that type of thing, we'll be able to run it on these new LEDs. Some of the feedback we had when we were doing the transit master plan is that while it was running on the front of the bus, it was difficult to see by those sitting in the back. So we've addressed that by adding additional screens. There are also screens that will be able to, advertisers will have running actively within the bus so that we'll be looking to creating some additional revenue sources through the kinds of advertising we do within the bus. And last but not least, it has some really funky disco colors going on in this bus, making them much more visible. And for those in the community who need greater accessibility features, this bus really has them all in that the bus lowers like the ones do today to allow greater accessibility, but the doors are wider. And there are different hookups that go in, so when you first approach the bus, there are more locations for wheelchair accessibility in the hookups there, but also on the other side of the bus, if there's a need for more accessibility space, the seats all flip up so that you can put more people with walkers and devices such like that into this new bus. So we're pretty pleased. We expect that they'll be out in a couple of weeks once we get all of the other changes finalized in it. And once our drivers have some training, because it's actually a different way of turning on the bus, and they actually have to train them how to turn the bus on. So, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Brown.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor, just a few things to say. First of all, just days away from Bay of Quinte Pride Month. June 7th is the Pride Parade in downtown Belleville. Hopefully we'll have a great turnout for that. This Friday night, just wanted to wish encouragement and support for the Dancing with the Stars Quinte. 8 couples are involved with this for Volunteer Information Quinte. I know they've been working hard, and that shows at the Empire Theatre. And this past Saturday, I'm sure Councillor Thompson will be speaking to it. It was the Walk for Alzheimer's at Jane Forrester Park, and thanks to the nice welcoming from Angela Murwa. She's the executive director there, and Trish Clancy, who's the fund coordinator for Alzheimer's Society of Hastings Prince Edward. I reached out to Trish today to see how they did, and Tricia reported that over the weekend 66,000 plus was raised with the Walk for Alzheimer's, and 35,000 from Belleville alone. And last year, Hastings Prince Edward Alzheimer's Society had 12,000 client interactions. If you want to help out, they're always looking for volunteers. You can go online and look them up. Hastings Prince Edward Alzheimer's Society. That's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you. Did I miss you, Councillor Thompson? Councillor Thompson?
Yeah, you did.
Okay.
I was going to talk about the Alzheimer's, but I think pretty well everything's been said about the Alzheimer's, so I'll just leave that alone. I attended Jack Evans's 90th birthday a week ago and congratulated him on behalf of the council. And also the good news is we're moving our speed cameras very shortly So be in the alert. Thank you.
Okay, seeing that, proclamations, May 25th, 31st, National Accessibility Week, May 28th, Red Shirt Day, May 28th, World Menstrual Health Day, June Pride Month, June National Deaf Blind Awareness Month, Stroke Awareness Month, Recreation and Parks Month, and Seniors Month. I need a confirmation bylaw, the bylaw number 2025-102, a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council meeting held on May 26, 25. Resolution of the bylaw 25-102 be read and passed. Moved by Councillor Brown, seconded by Councillor Enright Miller. Discussion, all in favor, carried. Motion to adjourn at 5 to 6. Councillor Thompson, moved by Councillor Carr, seconded. All in favor, carried. Thank you, staff, for a great meeting.